Yeah, welcome in. Welcome back to another episode of the Format Podcast Live. Yes. We got a pretty good show for you here tonight. Might not be too long. Might not be as long as last week. I know I went kind of crazy towards the end there, but I had to drop the science for you all. But we got a pretty decent show, as you can see from the thumbnail. We're going to talk, of course, NBA Finals. We're going to talk the NBA All-Star Game. I know you're wondering, why are we going to talk about that now? But we'll get to it. And we're going to talk Trevor Lawrence's new deal. But before we get to that, you know what time it is. If you're here on YouTube and you haven't already, please make sure you go ahead, click that like, that subscribe, that notification bell. Make sure you're kept up to date whenever we drop new content on the channel. If you want the audio-only version of the podcast, open up your audio podcast platform, hit the search bar, type in The Format Podcast, and we should come right up. If you're enjoying the content, make sure you give us that like, that 5-star review, and drop a comment. All that stuff helps us rise in the algorithm, helps us find more sports fans, helps more sports fans find us. And finally, make sure you write it down, put it in your phone, set an alarm, do whatever you got to do to remember. Saturday nights at 7 p.m. we are live here on the Format Podcast, and we'll give you the opportunity to call in, talk to us, get at me. I love it. I can't wait. All right, G. So from the beginning, you've been saying you got Dallas in 7, and I'm like, no. I had the Celtics in 6, but the way it was looking, obviously Celtics were up by 3, and I thought it was just a situation where the Celtics were proving that they had too much depth, they had too much defense on the perimeter, they had too many shot makers. 1 through 8 can make shots from 3, and I just felt like Dallas was just a bad matchup. So I was feeling like that game was that series was probably going to be over on Friday night, and lo and freaking behold, the Mavs just come out and destroy everything in sight and blow these dudes out, man. I'm gonna let you take it from here.
Yeah, so Charles Barkley, the great Charles Barkley, said it
Yes.
was embarrassing to watch and it was unprofessional. I think anytime you have a situation where you got the opportunity to close it out, and these games they based off of momentum, right? And so,
Yes.
do you want to get Dallas started? Is the question,
No,
right?
you don't.
You don't want to get them started, right? And so we saw Luka step up his defense, start playing both sides of the court, knocking down a bunch of big shots. I think they pulled them like third quarter or something, like the last 2 minutes of the third quarter they pulled them. What does this mean? Really nothing. They still down 3-1. It's one game before they close it out for the Celtics. But a game where maybe Tatum steps up and he backs up the 30-point game that he had previously. It's a different game, but I mean, the third largest blowout in NBA Finals history is not what we want to see during an NBA Finals. You have to remain competitive. Maybe the Mavs just had their number today. It was one of those things.
Yeah. I mean, if you have a team that can really explode offensively like Dallas is capable of doing, with 2 superstars who can really get it cooking real fast, your Kyrie Irvings and your Luka Doncic, and we saw them set the tone early. Kyrie comes out, hits the first bucket, and I think he finished with 21, 22, and he would have had more, but the game was a total blowout. So like you said, they pulled those guys in the third. Luka had 25 in the first half, so he's getting busy. Bruce, Dallas will make history. What is it? 156-0 teams in the NBA Finals when leading by a margin of 3-0. So I mean, they could theoretically, but who knows? Native Texan, you new here, haven't seen you before, man. Appreciate you coming in. Oh, A&M, huh? A&M. Okay, so let me say this, Native Texan. I see you got the A&M in your avatar there. I'm a diehard Notre Dame fan, so we're gonna come down there and take care of business starting the next college football season. But we got plenty of time to talk about that. If you're watching on YouTube and you're new, or if you're watching on Instagram, please make sure you go ahead and go to YouTube, subscribe to the channel, like the video. Really appreciate that. Make sure you share it out. Native Texan, yeah, you're right. Your role players were definitely hitting, and that's the next thing I was going to point to. And it's funny because this is your first time here, but since this series started, one of the things G and I were saying was that every champion needs role players to do things, but we were both saying that they really need somebody to step up, off that bench. And we were wondering why Tim Hardaway Jr. couldn't be that person. I said it, G said it, another guy in the chat, Bruce Harrington, he said it. And we saw Tim Hardaway Jr. get a few minutes and come alive the other night. 15 points in 12 minutes. He made 5 3-pointers in the game. And I'm not going to say that was the difference, but that was a huge lift off the bench. And we know that role players play better at home, and we know that Tim Hardaway Jr. is a guy who can really get it going when he has the opportunity to get the minutes and be out there on the floor. So that's a guy that I was definitely looking for in an objective fashion to see what he would be able to do during this series. And I was really curious to figure out, because I couldn't for the life of me figure out what was it that was limiting his minutes during pretty much this entire playoff run. I don't know if it's he doesn't want to defend, and Jason Kidd is not going to play people who don't defend, other, of course, than Luka, right? You can't not play Luka. But yeah, I was curious to know why Tim Hardaway Jr. wasn't getting those minutes. But we see when he gets the minutes and he gets opportunities that this is a guy that can do it for you. G, were you surprised to see Tim Hardaway Jr. go off that way?
Nah. I think he's a premier player. We saw him have a really good run with Golden State, and then come from a stock, right? His dad was, you know, Timmy Hardaway, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
so yeah, it wasn't a surprise. I think likely showed up today, and that was a key piece that I think
That was huge.
they was missing, right? Like
Great point.
they wasn't getting played, they wasn't getting prime minutes and buckets from their either bigs and or their bench, and so that was a difference maker. I
Yeah,
mean,
my bad. Good.
yeah, the game was. I mean, it was going to be a blowout. I mean, anytime you have a team that's shooting almost 50% from the field,
Mm-hmm.
right, and knocking down 40% of their threes,
Mm-hmm.
um, it's going to make for a really, really tough team to beat. Like
Mm-hmm.
I said, Tatum didn't step up.
That's right.
Jalen didn't step up. A lot of the players didn't even play really. It was
Mm-hmm.
piss poor effort on their behalf. But
Absolutely.
you start to see Luka put his hands in the passing lane, and
Mm-hmm.
kind of start playing defense, playing both sides of the field. I don't know what this.
Sliding his feet a little bit, definitely.
Yeah. Slow
Mm-hmm.
bot was moving his feet and trying
Yeah.
to get and play like an elite athlete that he is. So
Yeah, absolutely. And
yeah,
so it's funny, you're watching this and you're saying, Luka can do this. Nobody expects him to be Ron Artest or Scottie Pippen, but clearly he can defend. He just doesn't want to. But in the modern NBA, you can't make a player do something they don't want to do anyway. So it's a tough situation.
yeah.
What's
I,
up,
I
Mark?
think
Yeah, that's a great point. It really is difficult to beat the same team 4 times in a row. And
yeah,
um, I think a lot of what we saw the other night as well was just the flat out desperation, right? Dallas
yeah,
is like, we're at home. We're not trying to see this team celebrate on our floor, get the champagne in our locker room and all that. It was flat out desperation. They got hot. And also, this is the other thing that I've kind of been waiting for. I'm surprised it took this long. With the Celtics, as a team that shoots that many threes, you are bound to have a cold night just by the odds, right? And
14 and
so,
41.
say again?
They had 14 and 41 from the three.
Right.
That's
Exactly.
pretty
I
bad.
think they average 42 3-point attempts per game on the year. So you are bound just by the odds, like I said, to have a night where you go cold. And it's unfortunate for them that that happened on a night that you're trying to close out a series. But I suppose in a way, maybe it's not unfortunate because maybe subconsciously, okay, even if we drop this one, we go back home and we have an opportunity to finish it on our floor in front of our fans. And that wouldn't surprise me at all.
Yeah, plus 20 on the boards for Dallas.
Ooh,
Right.
great stat.
Yeah. Plus 20. And I mean,
Hmm.
you 14 for 41, and the other team is snatching 20 plus boards from you.
Hmm.
Uh, yeah, this is what you get. So,
Plus 20 on the boards. That's 20 extra possessions right there. That's
yeah,
a great stat. I love that. Think about it. The great Pat Riley said what? No rebounds, no rings. It's amazing to me when I watch modern basketball, whether it's college or professional. I'm always astounded by the reluctance seemingly that these modern coaches have to emphasize to emphasize rebounding. And I'm like, well, why? Like, why are you not more emphasizing rebounding? It's confounding to me because again, when you rebound the rock, that gives you more possessions, more opportunities to score, or more opportunities that the opponent has to not score.
yeah.
What we got, Native Texan? They were trying to drive and get downhill in the first quarter, and we were able to flatten them out. I think Lively had 7. Yeah, Lively was all over the place. He was blocking shots. He was finally catching ollies. So remember, we saw in the last series how many easy alley oops that Dallas was getting. A lot of them were going to Lively, and the Celtics had done a good job taking that away. But in this particular game, with the way Luka was going, the way Kyrie was going, the way they were moving the ball, and just everything was falling from the outside as well, they were able to really get Lively a lot of easy buckets on those alley oops as well. So there's I don't, I was about to say there's adjustments to be made, but I don't even know if there are adjustments to be made or if it's just an effort thing, or maybe the Celtics just let one get away because, again, subconsciously they knew that they were going back home to Boston, and they're like, okay, we blow this, we go back home, and we have an opportunity to close it out. Gee, how likely are the Mavs to push it out to a game 6 now? I mean, we've seen that happen. The one that sticks out to me in my mind most was 1996 NBA Finals. I believe the Bulls were up 3-0 against the Sonics, and that was when Gary Payton finally got the full game assignment on Michael Jordan, and he did a job making it much more difficult on Mike, and the Sonics ended up winning the next 2 games before the Bulls closed it out. So, um, how confident are you in Dallas Monday night? I know you said the Mavs in 7, and as your man Bruce said, they're going to make history. What are you thinking?
I'm thinking it depends on the coach, right? You guys got a great coach in Boston. Boston has a really good coach, and depending on the type of adjustments you make going into Game 5, that'll determine if we go Game 6, right? Like, I think you have to look at what you did really well in that game and take each game one at a time, but also be able to adjust, right? You got killed on the boards. They stole a bunch of possessions from you, 7
Hmm.
steals, 3. Um, and so you look at the ball from just a basic fundamental basketball. You rebound the ball, you're
Hmm.
shooting 14 to 41 from the 3 point. You average 40 points from the three. Like, do you adjust and change that pace? Like, hey, look, the three isn't dropping for us. Let's try something else. Or they open looks, where they four shots. So it's a lot of things that can go and play. Now you got Dallas. They getting hot, right? You got the two best well, one of the best backcourts in the league right now with
Hmm.
Kyrie and Luka, and if both of them hitting on every cylinder, it's going to be tough to beat them in Game 7 if they make it that week. So it
Hmm.
depends on how these two guys come and that bench. Do Lively back this? Is he going to play back to back games? Was this just one of the beginning of we saw Boston come out and blow the doors off of Dallas the first game, right?
That's right.
Um, is this will this be one of those things where you see them drop 3-2 and
Hmm.
three games as well and pull them in Game 7? So Game 7. I don't know, man. It's hard to say. I just watch every game. Like, you can't really say who's gonna play really well. I like how Luka did his adjustments. Jason Kidd called him out, and he was able to come back and back that, right? Like, you have to be
Hmm.
able to make these stops. And so it's interesting because it all falls under the coaches. It's all on the coaches, and how well they adjust going into Game 5.
Fair enough. Something I just thought about while you were talking, and you were making some good points there, is Kyrie is finally off the slide against Boston, right? So is that gonna, maybe he's like, okay, now I can really play free. I don't have to think about that anymore. Now he goes back there. I mean, so what? He had 2 games ago, he had 35 in game 3, I think, 35, and then he had the 21, which again would have been more in game 4 if it wasn't a total blowout. Now he goes back to Boston. What are you thinking? You think he shows up and has a big game finally in Boston?
Me as a Kyrie fan, I want to see him cook, right? I want to see
Hmm.
him cook. I
Yeah.
want to see him tap dance on the Celtics logo. Um, all
No,
these things,
it don't have to be all that though.
but but also, right, like
Uh-huh.
I'm not a fan of the Celtics and or the Dallas Mavericks, right? Like, individual play is kind of where I thrive,
Hmm.
and Kyrie is a wizard with the basketball in his hand,
Yeah.
and so I definitely want to see him win, but also I know that Tatum don't possess that clutch gene,
Hmm.
so it's going to be interesting to see how Jalen Brown and Kyrie play. That I think that'll be the determining factor. We didn't
Hmm.
talk about Jalen Brown. I think he had more of an off game, right?
He did.
And that should be highlighted as well. He didn't play well at all. I think he finished with like 11 points or something like that. And so, yeah, absolutely. So, it, yeah, man, we really can't see the future right now because I don't know who gonna
Right.
play, who gonna tighten their shoestrings up even
Hmm.
tighter. But just knowing Kyrie, man, I think you it's going to go six at least, right? Six is normally when you up three. I think history shows us like when a team is up 3-0, they normally like close out game six. And
Hmm.
so if they don't close out game six, then we'll probably see a game seven with Dallas hoisting the trophy.
So you keep saying that, but the thing I'm saying about that, right, is that, and Mark said it earlier, it's really difficult to beat the same team 4 times in a row. And just, I think the physical and mental fatigue there in terms of fighting all the way back and then trying to finish it. I believe last season in the Eastern Conference Finals, Boston was down 0-3 against Miami. And they got it all the way back to game 7 in Boston, as a matter of fact. And then Miami pretty much smacked them around to end that series and get to the finals. So I think it just takes everything out of you to come all the way back out of that hole and then to still try to finish it, which may be why it's never been done before. Again, I love to quote the great Nelson Mandela: everything seems impossible until it is done. But as of right now, it's a pretty fair assumption that it's nearly impossible to do. Or, again, at some point, I think somebody's going to do it. I don't know if it'll be this series because, again, just looking at the Celtics makeup when they are playing well, and it would be a stretch for them to think that for the next 3 days next 3 games, excuse me, they're not going to play well. When they're playing well, they got guys 1 through 8 that can hit threes. They got guys 1 through 8 that can pretty much switch on anything and defend at a high level. So this team is built extremely well and has the opportunity to to slow down and maybe even in some cases stop uh Dallas. So I don't know. It's tough. It's not that serious. What's up, brother? I've lived long enough to see a 16 seed defeated. That's true. No, anything is possible. And I get it. A 16 seed defeating a number 1 seed, but that's one game. That's not 4 games in a row after being down 0-3. And I think that's kind of the point. Um, what's that, Mark? Dallas looked like they were playing some kind of zone D. It helped Luca out. Um, I'm gonna have to go back and look at some of that. I didn't catch that. What I saw was a tremendous amount of effort defensively. Like all them dudes were moving like nobody was caught out of position, and anyone who was, there was always somebody there to help. There was so much. It was like what's the expression? The guys were together on a string. You really saw everybody moving properly in the way they should on defense. Everybody helping each other. Everybody sliding their feet. Nobody giving up easy ones because again, I just got to assume nobody wanted to see the Celtics celebrating on the Mavericks floor. So I give them credit, and it would not surprise me at all if they went back to Boston and they took game 5. It wouldn't surprise me. And then you got to go back. But I don't see them coming all the way back to doing this thing. And if they do, man, Joe Mazzulla got to get fired. But that's a different point. If he gives this series up, he's got to get fired. There's going to be no excuse.
And
None
those
whatsoever.
Boston fans will not allow him to
No,
survive another year there.
no.
Uh,
And you're gonna have $600 million tied up in 2 players. Nah, he gonna have to go. But again,
yeah.
I don't see that happening. I just think it's too much. Um, anything else you want to add, G, before we go ahead and open up the phone lines on this topic?
Nah, I say we open them up and everybody call in if you can, and yeah, let's talk about it.
All right, let's do that. So there you go. If you can, let's go ahead. Give us a call, 904-219-8264. 904-219-8264. Give us a call. Give us your thoughts on this series. Give us, is it the coaching, Luca? Can the Mavericks come all the way back? Give us a call and let's hear what you have to say. That's an interesting comment, though, Mark. Dallas looked like they were playing some kind of zone D. I'm gonna have to go back and check on that. I did not notice that. Hmm. Yeah, one thing I did see on the defense, I love the way Luka came out. I guess he was tired of hearing all that stuff. He came out with legitimate defensive intensity. Obviously, we know that he can score it, he can make tough shots and all of that. He can get to his spot wherever it is on the floor. But I love the fact that he came out with defensive intensity. He was really moving his feet and really, attempting to defend. And what we were saying earlier, he's never going to be Kawhi Leonard or Paul George or anything like that on the defensive side of the ball. But he gave the effort. And if Luka gives effort defensively, everybody's going to follow. And I think that could be a difference maker.
Yeah, game 3, he made a lot of bad
Yeah,
passes. It
yeah,
looked like a street ball
sloppy.
game. He's just
Yeah.
throwing stuff around, and so
Mm-hmm.
sometimes that's what it takes. But
Yep. All right. Well, it
Celtics
looks like yeah, go ahead.
pretty well coached. Celtics are pretty well coached, even though they didn't play in game 4, right? Maybe they, it was a rest day for them, but
No,
they
I think they are well coached, but again, I think if it should be that they end up being the history maker and giving up this series, then Missoula got to go. Hello, Format
Hey,
Podcast.
is this the podcast?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
This is Native Texan. I was in the chat.
What's going
Uh,
on, man? How you doing? Thanks for calling.
I'm doing a lot better after last night. I got to tell you that was good. Just not to get swept, No matter what happens, I'm proud of my team. It's not a bad playoff run for a 5 seed, but I hope we can give that same kind of effort Monday night. And I'm not even thinking about winning the series. I just want us to win Monday, take it from there. But yeah, I know what my Mavs can do whenever we're clicking on all cylinders. I watched it against Oklahoma City and I saw it against Minnesota, and I've just been waiting for us to show up. And I feel like a lot of our role players and stuff, we were getting like open shots in the first 2 games, and they just weren't. Everything wasn't clicking together right. But I know what we can do whenever we're clicking on all cylinders. We can roll people. We can roll Boston when we're on firing on all cylinders like that. And I'm just
Yeah, we just
hoping.
saw that.
Yeah, I'm just hoping we have another good performance. And I didn't watch a lot of Boston because I don't watch a lot of Eastern Conference basketball, but they were a lot better than I gave them credit for. I mean, I'll eat my crow a little bit on that because I was coming into the finals thinking just that the East was mid and like,
Mhm.
they beat the Pacers and had like this like easy playoff run, and that we were just gonna. And they're like, no, Boston's really good. I give them their credit, but I think that everybody was being a little bit too hard on my boy Luca, during this finals performance. I mean, he got us here with like a million injuries,
Mhm. Mhm.
and everything, and he's been playing through effort, and people just want to call him a crybaby or whatever. And yeah, he does get too caught up arguing with the officials. I ain't gonna deny that, but he's played through a lot of injuries, and it's not like he's like a bad playoff player. I think Colin Coward called him like a better version of Carmelo Anthony or something like that. And that guy's a clown. But
Yeah, when Colin Cowherd talks basketball, you kind of you just let him finish and start. You wait for him to go back to football because he sticks
yeah,
to a lot of narratives and he just says some things like there's no way you can anyway. Yeah, Luke is really good. But to say
yeah,
he's a better version of Melo, I think is a stretch to say the least.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, and I mean he'll change like week to week also, just depending on which way the wind's blowing and
Oh
stuff.
yeah, he's good for that.
Yeah, I'm also though Boston. They do have like they have a kind of a similar thing that my Cowboys do whenever they've gotten in the playoffs, even though they've won more recently than us, where they get that pressure on them, and it's such like a big basketball city, like Dallas is a big football city,
Mm-hmm.
and that pressure, whenever it cranks up, it can get in their heads, and they can fumble the bag, and
Mm-hmm.
I think we can steal one their Monday night. It'll really start kicking in because people will be like, man, are we really going to blow this 0-3 lead? Are we really going to drop this again? It'll be in their heads a little bit, and the momentum will be on our side. I
Yeah,
mean,
if you
whenever they, I'm sorry, go
no,
ahead.
sorry to cut you off. No, I was saying
I was just
if
going to say, whenever Boston came back against Miami and pushed that to 7 games, Miami doesn't have that same like uh, playoff history and like fan base and that same kind of pressure, and it's a little different. whenever you have like a major team or a legacy team in a sport like that, and like it just gets hyper focused on them, it makes it more likely that that they'll choke. But I mean, I'm not going to say we're going to win the series down 3-1 and Boston being as good as they are. But if there was going to be a team choke it away, it would be them.
That's fair. That's fair. No, I think you have a right point, and you're looking at it the right way in terms of just take it a game at a time. And I think that's what anybody would say. Just take it one game at a time. You can't be looking at winning the series. You have to be looking at staying alive every time out. Go ahead and get a win. Do all the little things it takes to get that one win, right? Go 1-0 and then move on to the next one. But yeah, because every game could be the end. So you got to stay alive. So I totally hear you on that. And also, I don't think you're wrong when you were going into this series, assuming like, do me a favor. Can you turn down YouTube in the back? I think I'm hearing it. It's echoing. Yeah,
I don't have my YouTube on. I am talking through speaker. Would it help if I turn that off?
Yeah, please do.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, thank you. So
what better?
Yeah, absolutely. So what I was saying was, if you I'm sorry, I lost my thought for a second. What was I saying? What was I saying, G? I lost my train of thought.
You're talking about the Eastern Conference and the Celtics road?
Yeah. No, so I think you were 100% right, and you were fair in saying, Boston's had a cakewalk through the East. They're not battle tested like we are. We being that you're a Dallas fan, they're not battle tested like we are, and that we should have a legitimate opportunity to beat them. And I think a lot of people were thinking that way. Even myself, as a guy who's been a Celtics fan since the mid '80s, I'm looking at it like, have the Celtics been sufficiently tested enough to come out here and win this? Now they have all of what it takes to win, but have they been sufficiently tested? And it looks to this point like they have. Interesting stat I heard the other day. I was surprised by it. So the Celtics had a 10 straight playoff game win. They had a win streak of 10 straight playoff games until it was snapped the other night. And believe it or not, that 10 straight is the longest streak of playoff wins in Boston Celtics history. Now,
wow.
For that team, that's an incredible thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. So I was really shocked to hear that. You would have thought that maybe it would have been, Mr. Russell and his group, or Bird and his guys that might have previously held that record. But yeah, I was surprised to hear it. But yeah, I definitely don't think that you were wrong to think like the Celtics haven't been tested and we've been through the fire, and so we're more prepared to win this series. But again, one game at a time. And realistically, as someone who loves competition, obviously I want to see the Celtics win, but it would also be cool to see this thing kind of stretch out a little bit more and see see some really tough games. Obviously, you don't want to see the Celtics. I don't want to see the Celtics lose the series and make history in blowing this thing, but it would be interesting to say the least.
It would be very interesting, and Game 7 would actually be on my birthday, scheduled to be played on my birthday. So I'm hoping that all lines up and is good karma for me. My Cowboys have put me through enough pain over the last 30 years. Mavericks, please give me something.
Well, I tell you what, you're new to the channel, so you are not gonna like a lot of the things I've had to say about Dak Prescott over time. So you can go through the archives of the channel and look at some of the other videos, because I'm gonna tell you now, I've been very rough on that guy. So we'll see. But
yeah. A lot of questions are up on him around here, believe me.
Oh, well, there you go. Do you have anything else to add before I let you go, man?
No, just I appreciate the podcast, and I like y'all, and I have this is my first time listening to y'all, but I think y'all are fair. It doesn't seem like y'all are really biased one way or the other, even though you are a Celtics fan. It seems like objective, good analysis, which is what I like. So I'll keep listening, and I'll share it around, and y'all guys take care, all right?
Hey, I appreciate that, man. Thanks a lot. Stay with us. We got a couple other good topics coming up, and there will be some brief mention of Dak Prescott in the Trevor Lawrence segment. So, I'm not gonna rip him too bad, but he'll come up, and you'll get why when it happens.
Quick question.
All right, take care.
Man, thanks for calling.
Bye.
All right.
Do you think if KP would have played, right? Because I don't think he played. He didn't play, right? He didn't play. He sat, right?
Nah, he didn't play.
Yeah. would have been a different outcome if
No,
no.
no, nah. Dallas was you saw it. They were determined they weren't gonna let that happen, and KP would not have made a difference. I can't see it. Put KP in as a decoy, pull out all the stops for the chip. So I get what you're saying. It's not that serious about putting Porzingis in as a decoy. The problem there is he becomes a defensive liability if he can't move. So it's like, how do you want to do that? I get it, offense, defense, substitution, but you can't do it on every play. So I hear you, but I don't know if it would be the best move in terms of trying to win a game. I think you're still up 3-1. I think you're not in a rush to put him back in. You play the next game. If you lose, then maybe you legitimately consider it for game 6. And by game 6, he'll have had more than a week off, right, G?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, 8-9 days off or something like that. So, you want to give him as much time as you possibly can. So yeah, I wouldn't worry too much about Porzingis, but I get your point though.